Hello everyone, this is Sumit Bose and I am from the Bodhi Academy. Today we are going to discuss on the chapter Devotional Path of the Divine. Okay. So, without any further delay, let's us discuss this chapter. Okay, explain this chapter. Okay. So we are basically in modern world we are say worshipping many gods and goddesses. Okay, the many modern. So the question is, how did it all started? How did the ideas generated? Okay, so without any further delay, let's start with the chapter. The idea of supreme god. Before large kingdoms emerged, different groups of people worshipped their own gods and goddesses. As people were brought together through the growth of towns, trade, and empires, new ideas began to develop. The idea that all living things pass through countless cycles of birth and rebirth, performing good deeds and bad, came to be widely accepted. Widely accepted. Similarly, uh, the idea that all human beings are not equal at even birth gained ground during this period. This belief that social privileges came from birth, as in a noble family or high caste, was the subject of many learned texts. Many people were uneasy with such ideas and turned to the teachings of Buddha and Jainas, according to which it was possible to overcome social differences and break the cycle of birth, the rebirth through personal knowledge. So this is the main system. This was the main reason why Jainism and Buddhism gained popularity. Basically, in those days, many different peoples. Okay, I mean, their people were divided into different clans, and these different people worship different kinds of goddesses, and there were caste discrimination in those days. But in Jainism and Buddhism, they didn't faced any casteism, and uh, in other religions it was said that life is a circle, okay, of birth and death and rebirth again. So only Jainism and Buddhism showed the way to break this circle through personal effort. Others felt attracted to the idea of supreme god who could deliver humans from such bondage if approached with devotion or bhakti. So others had the idea that some supreme gods is there, and who could relieve them from this bondage. This idea advocated in the Bhagavad Gita, gaining popularity in the early centuries of the Common Era. Shiva, Vishnu, and Durga as supreme deities came to be worshipped through elaborate rituals. At the same time, gods and goddesses worshipped in different areas came to be identified with Shiva, Vishnu, or Durga. Okay. In the process, local myths and legends become a part of the Puranic stories. So this was how the Puranas were born. Local myths and stories became a part of the Puranas. Okay, in the Puranas into the local cults. Eventually, the Puranas also laid down that it was possible for devotees to receive a grace of God regardless of their caste status. The idea of bhakti became so popular that even Buddhists and Jains adopted these beliefs. Okay. Now, what we will focus on on this section: Bhakti in South India, Nayanars and Alvars. So, who were Nayanars and Alvars? Let's find it out. The 7th to 9th centuries saw the emergence of new religious movements led by the Nayanars and the Alvars, who came from all castes, including those considered untouchable like the Pulayar and Panars. So, who were Nayanars and Alvars? Nayanars were Nayanars were saints devoted to Shiva, and Alvars were Vishnu. They were sharply critical of the Buddhist and Jainis and preached ardent love of Shiva and or Vishnu as the path of salvation. They drew upon the ideals of love and heroism as found in the Sangam literature and blended them with the values of bhakti. The Nayanars and Alvars went from place to place, composing exquisite poems in praise of the deities enshrined in the villages they visited and set them to music. Between the 10th and 12th centuries, the Chola and Pandya kings built elaborate temples along many of shrines visited by the saint poets, strengthening the links between bhakti tradition and temple worship. Okay, so who set who set up the strong links between bhakti tradition and temple worship? The Chola kings. Okay, why? They funded hugely. Okay. This was also the time when their poems were compiled. Besides hagiographies or religious biographies of the Alvars and Nayanars were also composed. Today we use these texts as sources for writing historians and Bhakti tradition. Okay, so we can clearly see the link. Okay, from how the idea of supreme God came and how did temple worship got a link between Bhakti cult. Okay, when saints worship. Okay, so let's know in details more philosophy of Bhakti. Let's focus in this point, the philosophy of Bhakti. Shankara, one of the most influential philosophers of India, was born in Kerala in the 8th century. He was an advocate of Advaita, or the doctrine of the oneness of the individual soul and the supreme God, which is ultimate reality. He taught that Brahman, the only or ultimate reality, was formless and without any attributes. He considered that world around us to be an illusion or Maya and preached renunciation of the world and adaptation of path knowledge to understand the true nature of Brahman and attain salvation. Ramanuja, born in Tamil Nadu in the 11th century, was deeply influenced by the Alvars. According to him, the best means of attaining salvation was through intense devotion to Vishnu. So Ramanuja told that if you show intense devotion to Vishnu, you will get salvation. Okay. Vishnu, in his grace, helps the devotee to attain the bliss of union with him. He propounded the doctrine of Vishita or qualified oneness in the soul, or even when united with the Supreme God remained distinct. Ramanuja's doctrine greatly inspired the new strand of bhakti which developed in the North India subsequently. We noted earlier that the connection between the Tamil Bhakti movement and the temple worship, this in turn led to a reaction that is best represented in Virashiva movement initiated by Basavana and his companions like Alma Prabhu and Akkama Devi. This movement began in Karnataka in the mid 12th century. The Virashivas argued strongly for the equality of all human beings and against Brahmical ideas about caste and treatment of the women. They were also against all forms of ritual of idol worship. From the 13th and 17th centuries, Maharashtra saw a great number of saint poets whose songs in simple Marathi continue to inspire people. The most important among them were Dhaneshwar or Gyaneshwar, Namdev, Ekant, Tukaram, as well as women like Shakhubai and family of Chokhamela, who belonged to untouchable Mahar caste. This regional tradition of bhakti focused on Vithala temple in Pandharpur, as well as the notion of personal God residing in the hearts of the people. These saint poets rejected all forms of ritualism, outward display of piety, and social differences based on birth. In fact, they even rejected the idea of reincarnation and preferred to live with their families, earning their livelihood like any other person while humbly serving fellow human beings in need. A new humanist idea emerged as they insisted that bhakti lay in sharing others' pain, as the famous Gujarati saint Narsi Mehta said, they are Vaishnavas who understand the pain of others. Okay. Nathpanthis, Sindhas, and Yogis. A number of religious groups that emerged during the period criticized the ritual and other aspects of conventional religion and social order using simple local arguments. Among them were the Nathpanthis, Sindhacharas, and Yogis. They advocated reincarnation of the world. To them, the path of salvation lay in the meditation of the formless ultimate reality and the realization of oneness with it. So, Nathpanthis, Sindhas, and Yogi, they believed in if we devote our life, if we devote ourselves to the formless ultimate reality, okay, if we devote ourselves, then we will enter the salvation. These groups, particularly popular among the low class, their criticism of conventional religion created the ground for divisional religion to become a popular phase in northern India. Now, Islam and Sufism. The sons had much in common with the Sufis, so much so that it is believed that they adopted many ideas of each other. Sufis were Muslim mystics, okay? So there were similarities between sons and Sufis. It is said they adopted the idea each other. Okay. Islam propagated strict monotheism and submission to one God. In the 8th and 9th centuries, religious scholars developed different aspects of holy law and theology of Islam. While the religion of Islam gradually became more complex, Sufis provided with an additional dimension that favored a move a personal devotion to God. The Sufis often rejected the elaborate rituals and codes of behavior demanded by the Muslim religious scholars. They sought union of God much as love seeks his beloved with a disregard for the world. Okay, so Islam was more strict than the Sufis. Okay, but Sufis were less strict than the Islam, and Sufis believed that uh, their union with God was like a lover, much like a lover who seeks beloved with a disregard for this world. Okay. Like the saint poets, the Sufi too composed poems expressing their feelings and a rich literature in prose, including anecdotes and fables developed around them. Among the great Sufi of Central Asia were Ghazali, Rumi, and Sadi. Like the Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and Yogis, the Sufis too believed that the heart can be trained to look at the world in a different way. They developed elaborate methods of training using skill, con- contemplation, sama, raks, discussion of parables, breath control, etc., under the guidance of Master of Pir. Thus emerged the silsilas, a spiritual genealogy of Sufi teachers, each following a slightly different method of instruction and ritual practice. A large number of Sufis from Central Asia settled in Hinduism from the 11th century onwards. This process was strengthened with the establishment of Delhi Sultanate when several major Sufi centers developed all over subcontinent. The Chishti Silsila was among the most influential orders. It had a long time of teachers like Hajwa Moinuddin Chishti or Ajmer, Kutubuddin Bakhtiyar Kaki of Delhi, Baba Farid of Punjab, Khwaja Naimuddin Auliya of Delhi, and Bandavas Gizudaraz of Gulbagra. The Sufi masters held their assemblies in their khanqahs or hospices. Devotees of all descriptions, including members of royalty and nobility and ordinary people, flocked to these khanqahs. They discussed spiritual matters, sought the blessings of saints in solving their worldly problems, or simply attend the music and dance sessions. Often people attributed Sufi masters with miraculous powers that could relieve others to their illness and troubles. The tomb or dargah of a Sufi saint became a place of pilgrimage to which thousands of people of faiths thronged. Now focus on this topic, new religious developments in North India. Okay, what was the situation? This was all about South India. Now what happened in the new religious development in North India? The period after the 13th century saw a new wave of Bhakti movement in North India. This was an age when Islam, Brahmical Hinduism, Sufism, various strands of Bhakti, and Nathpanthis, Siddhas, and Yogis influenced one another. We saw that new kingdoms were emerging and people were taking up new professions and finding new roles for themselves. Such people, especially craftspersons, peasants, traders, laborers, thronged to listen to these new saints and spread their ideas. Some of them, like Kabir and Baba Guru Nanak, rejected all orthodox religions. Others, like Tulsidas and Surdas, accepted existing beliefs and practices but wanted to make this accessible to all. Tulsidas conceived of God in the form of Rama. Tulsidas' compositions of Ramcharitmanas, written in Awadhi, a language used in Uttar Pradesh, is important in both an expression of his devotion to as a literary work. Surdas was an ardent devotee of Krishna. His composition compiled the Sursangara, Surasavali, and Sahitya Lahari express his devotion. Okay, so this was the wave this was the religious wave which was going in North India. Also contemporary was Shankaradeva of Assam, who emphasized devotion to Vishnu and composed poems in plays in Assamese. He began to practice of setting of namgars or houses of recitation and prayer, a practice that continues to date. This tradition also includes saints like Dadu Dayal, Ravidas, and Mirabai. Mirabai was a Rajput princess married into the royal family of Mewar in the 16th century. Mirabai became a disciple of Ravidas, a saint from caste considered untouchable. She was devoted to Krishna and composed innumerable bhajans. Okay, Mirabai was a famous devotee to Krishna. Her songs also openly challenged the norms of upper caste and became popular with masses of Rajasthan influencers. So this was the difference in which came in the 13th century. Okay, there was no caste discrimination. Okay, Mirabai's song Bhakti, when she was devoted to Lord Vishnu. Okay, the unique feature of most of the saints in their works were composed in regional languages and could be sung. They became immensely popular and were handed down orally from generation to generation. Using the poorest, most deprived communities, women transmitted these songs, often adding to their experiences. Thus, the songs as have them today be as much as creation as saints as the generation of the people who sang them. They have become a part of our living popular culture. Look, this is a song composed by Mirabai. Kabir. Okay, Kabir, who probably lived in the 15th and 16th centuries, was one of the most influential saints. Kabir was one of the most influential saints. He was brought up in a family of Muslim Julahas or weavers and settled in near to Benares. We have little reliable information about his life. We get to know of his ideas from a vast collection of verses called Sakhis and Pads, said to have been composed by him and sung by wandering bhajan singers. Some of these were later collected and preserved in the Guru Granth Sahib, Panjwani in Bijap. Okay. Kabir's teachings were based on a complete, indeed vehement rejection of major religion traditions. His teaching openly ridiculed all forms of external worship of both Brahminical Hinduism and Islam, the preeminence of priestly classes and the caste system. The language of his poetry was a form of spoken Hindi widely understood by ordinary people. He also sometimes used cryptic language which is difficult to know. Kabir believed in formless supreme God and preached that the only path of salvation was through bhakti or devotion. Kabir drew his followers from among Hindus and Muslims. Now we will focus on Baba Guru Nanak. Okay, we know more than about Baba Guru Nanak than about Kabir. Born in Talwandi, he travelled widely. Means Baba Guru Nanak's life is more documented than Kabir. Establishing a Kriyada Kartarpur, a regular worship that consisted of singing of his own hymns, was established there by his followers. Irrespective of their former creed, caste, and gender, his followers ate together in the common kitchen, the langar. The sacred space that created Baba Guru Nanak was known as Dharmashal. It is now known as Gurudwara. Before his death in 1539, Baba Guru Nanak appointed one of his followers as his successor. His name was Lahana, but he came to be known as Guru Angad, signifying that he was a part of Baba Guru Nanak himself. Guru Angad compiled the compositions of Baba Guru Nanak, to which he added to his own in a new script known as Guru Mukhi. The three successors of Guru Angad also wrote under the name of Nanak, and all their compositions were compiled by Guru Arjan in 1604. This compilation were added to writings of other figures like Sheikh Farid Said, Saint Sant Kabir, Bhagat Namdev, Guru Tegh Bahadur. In 1706, this compilation was authenticated by Guru Tegh Bahadur's son and successor. Guru Gobind Singh, it is now known as Guru Granth Sahib, the holy scripture of the Sikhs. The number of Baba Guru Nanak's followers increased through the 16th century under his successors. They belonged to a number of castes, but traders, agricultures, artisans, craftsmen predominate. This may have something to do with Baba Guru Nanak's insistence that his followers must be householders and should adopt productive and useful occupations. They were also expected to contribute to the general funds of the community of followers. By the beginning of the 17th century, the town of Ramdaspur had developed around the central Gurudwara called Harmandir Sahib. It was virtually self-governing, and modern historians refer to the early 17th century Sikh community as a state within a state. The Mughal Emperor Jahangir looked upon them as potential threat, and he ordered the execution of Guru Arjan in 1606. The Sikh movement began to get politicized in the 17th century, a development which culminated in the institution of Khalsa Guru Gobind Singh in 1699. The community of the Sikhs, called Khalsa Panth, became political entity. The changing historical situation during the 16th and 17th centuries influenced the development of Sikh movement. The ideas of Baba Guru Nanak had a huge impact of the development from very beginning. He emphasized the importance of worship of one God. So Guru Nanak also emphasized the worship of one God. He insisted that caste, creed or gender was irrelevant for attaining the liberation. His idea of liberation was not that of a state inner bliss, but rather than pursuit to active life with a strong sense of social commitment. He himself used the terms Naam, Dan, Insan for the essence of his teaching, which actually meant right worship, welfare of others, and purity of conduct. His teachings are now remembered as Naam Japna, Krit Karna, and Vand Chakra, which also underline the importance of right belief and worship, honest living, and helping others. Thus, Baba Guru Nanak's idea of equality has social and political implications. This might partly explain the difference between the history of followers of Baba Guru Nanak and the history of followers of other religious figures of medieval centuries, like Kabir, Ravidas, Dadu, whose ideas were very similar to those Baba Guru Nanak. So, okay, I hope you all understood the chapter. Okay, and for more information and details, please contact the Bodhi.